It's 2:30 in the morning. I'm sitting in my tiny apartment. Everyone I know is asleep. No one knows I'm awake. No one knows I've been working on this for 6 hours straight. No one would care if I stopped right now and went to bed. There's no deadline, no boss checking in, no audience waiting. Just me and this work I decided matters. And I'm exhausted. Every part of me wants to quit, to say I'll finish it tomorrow, to choose comfort over commitment. And in that moment, I realized something that changed my entire life. This is the moment that actually counts. Not the stage, not the applause, not the accolades that might come someday. This moment, right here, when no one's watching, when I could quit and face zero consequences. This is where I either become someone who keeps promises to themselves or someone who doesn't. And that choice determines everything. This video will expose why you're exhausted but not progressing. You're working hard for external validation instead of internal transformation. Most advice focuses on accountability, on telling people your goals, on creating external pressure, but that builds a house on sand. Real power comes from developing what I call private integrity, the ability to do difficult things when no one would know if you didn't. We're going to explore why this invisible work builds unshakable self-trust, how it rewires your identity at the deepest level, and the specific practices that turn you into someone who doesn't need an audience to show up. This isn't about grinding harder. It's about building differently. Let me paint you a picture. Two people join a gym on the same day. January 1st. Same goals. Same starting point, same membership. Let's call them Alex and Jordan, and they both commit to transforming their bodies, their health, their lives. Both of them are serious about it. At least they think they are. Alex starts going to the gym during peak hours, 5:30 p.m., right after work, when the gym is packed, when there's energy in the air, when people are watching. And Alex feeds off that energy, gets motivated by seeing other people work hard, feels good when someone notices their effort, posts gym selfies, updates friends on progress, and when the gym is full and buzzing with activity, Alex shows up strong, pushes hard, performs. Jordan does something different. Jordan goes at 5 in the morning when the gym is empty, when it's dark outside, when no one they know is awake, when there's no energy to feed off of, no one to impress, no one to watch, just the weights and the work, no selfies, no posts, no audience, just the quiet, unglamorous grind of showing up when it would be so much easier to stay in bed. 6 months go by. Both of them have been going to the gym consistently. Both have put in time. Both have worked hard, but something's different. Alex has gotten stronger, sure, has made progress, but only during those peak hours, only when the gym is full, only when there's that external energy, that motivation that comes from being around others. On days when the gym is empty, when there's no one there to create that buzz, Alex struggles, sometimes doesn't even go, because the motivation isn't there, the energy isn't there, the performance opportunity isn't there. Jordan, on the other hand, has transformed. Not just physically, though that's happened too, but something deeper, something in the way they move, the way they carry themselves. There's a quiet confidence that wasn't there before, a self-assuredness that doesn't need validation, because Jordan proved something to themselves over these 6 months. They proved they don't need an audience. They don't need external motivation. They don't need someone watching. They showed up for themselves when no one else was awake, when it was hard, when it was dark, when it would have been so easy to quit. And every single time they chose to go anyway, they were casting a vote, not for a better body, for a better relationship with themselves. Do you see the difference? Alex built external muscles. Jordan built internal character. Alex developed performance-dependent strength. Jordan developed unconditional discipline. And that difference? That determines everything. Because Alex will always need the right conditions, the right environment, the right motivation to show up. But Jordan? Jordan showed themselves they can show up regardless. Rain or shine, tired or rested, motivated or not, witnessed or alone. That's power. That's real transformation. I lived this. I spent years practicing my craft when no one was listening. I would go into empty rooms and practice speaking. Hours and hours in silence, no audience, no feedback, no applause. just me in a chair, and the work of refining how I deliver a message, how I create impact with words. And it was lonely, it was unglamorous. There was no dopamine hit from likes or comments or people telling me I was great. There was just the work, the invisible, unwitnessed work. And I can't tell you how many times I wanted to quit. How many times I thought, what's the point? Nobody's even seeing this. Nobody knows I'm doing this. I could be doing something easier, something more fun, something that gives me immediate gratification. But something kept me there. This understanding that if I was only willing to work hard when people were watching, I would never become the person I needed to do what I felt called to do. The stage would come later. The audience would come later. But the man I needed to be to serve that audience, he had to be built in the empty room, in the dark, in the solitude, when no one was watching. And every hour I spent in those empty rooms was a deposit in my self-trust account. Every time I chose to keep going when I could have stopped, I was proving to myself that I could be relied upon, that I didn't need external pressure to show up, that my word to myself meant something, and that built a foundation that nothing could shake. Because it wasn't built on validation. It wasn't built on recognition. It was built on integrity. Now let me tell you about something I call the witness test. Because here's what most people don't realize. You're never actually alone. You're always being witnessed by yourself. There's a part of you that sees everything, knows every shortcut you take, every corner you cut, every compromise you make when no one else is looking. And that internal witness, that's the relationship that determines your entire life. Most people create this split. There's the public version of themselves, the one they perform being, the one that shows up when there's accountability, when there's an audience, when there's something to gain or lose. That version is disciplined, committed, impressive. And then there's the private version, the one that exists when no one's watching, the one that cuts corners, takes the easy path, makes compromises. And these two versions, they're strangers to each other. I see this all the time. The person who talks about health and fitness publicly, posts inspirational quotes about discipline, but eats garbage in secret. The person who preaches integrity and honesty, but lies when it's convenient and no one will know. The person who claims to be working on their dreams, but watches Netflix for 6 hours when they're alone. And here's what happens. This split creates cognitive dissonance. Your conscious mind knows one thing. Your unconscious knows another. And the unconscious always wins. Because you can't lie to yourself. You can lie to everyone else. You can perform, you can pretend, you can craft an image. But the part of you that witnesses everything, that part always knows the truth. And when your public persona and your private behavior don't match, something dies inside you. Something crucial. Self-respect. You lose respect for yourself. Because respect comes from consistency. It comes from integrity. It comes from being the same person in public and in private. And when you're not, when there's a gap between who you say you are and who you actually are when no one's looking, you can feel it. Maybe you can't name it. Maybe you tell yourself it doesn't matter. But you feel it. That heaviness. That self-betrayal. That knowing that you're not who you claim to be. I had a moment where this hit me like a freight train. I was in a season where I was teaching people about discipline and commitment. I was on stages telling people to keep their promises, to follow through, to be people of their word. And I believed it. I really did. But I realized I was performing discipline publicly, while choosing comfort privately. I would show up strong when I knew people were watching, when there was a camera or an audience or someone who would know if I didn't. But when I was alone, when no one would know, I took shortcuts. I chose easy. I compromised. And one night, I was alone in my apartment and I looked at myself in the mirror and I asked myself a question that changed everything. I said, if the only person who knew what I did today was me, would I respect myself? And the answer was no. And that devastated me. Because I realized I had been lying. Not to other people, to myself. I had been performing the image of discipline while not actually living it. And that night, I made a decision. I decided that the person I am when no one's watching has to be someone I respect, someone I admire, someone I'd want to be friends with, someone whose choices I could stand behind. And that meant I had to start treating myself like I was trying to impress myself. Not other people, myself. So I started doing hard things when no one was watching. I started making my bed every morning, even though I lived alone and no one would see it. I started cleaning my space even when no guests were coming. I started working on my craft late into the night, even when there was no deadline, no pressure, no one who would know if I didn't. And slowly, something shifted. I started to respect myself. I started to trust myself. I started to feel aligned because the person I was in public and the person I was in private started to become the same person. And that alignment, that created a power I'd never experienced before. So, what actually creates this power? What's the mechanism? Let me break it down for you. Every promise you keep to yourself when no one's watching is a deposit in your self-trust account. Every time you do the hard thing when it would be easier not to, every time you follow through when there's no external pressure, every time you choose discipline over comfort in private, that's a deposit. And over time, those deposits compound. They build something. They build self-trust. They build self-respect. They build an unshakable foundation. But most people, they're bankrupt with themselves. They've broken so many private promises that they don't believe their own commitments anymore. They say they're going to work out, they don't. They say they're going to work on their dream, they don't. They say they're going to change, they don't. And every time they break that promise, that's a withdrawal. That's evidence that they can't be trusted by themselves. And when you can't trust yourself, you need external pressure. You need accountability partners. You need people watching. You need deadlines imposed from the outside because you don't have internal integrity. But the person who does hard things when no one's watching, they build that internal integrity. They become someone they can trust. They don't need someone looking over their shoulder because they're looking over their own shoulder. They don't need external motivation because they have internal commitment. And that changes everything because now you're not dependent on circumstances. You're not dependent on other people. You're not dependent on feeling motivated or having energy or being in the right mood. You show up regardless because you made a promise to yourself. And you keep your promises. And here's the paradox. The less you need external validation, the more of it you receive. When you stop performing for an audience and start building in private, something shifts in your energy. People can sense it. They can sense authenticity. They can sense depth. They can sense someone who doesn't need them to be impressive. And that's magnetic. It's attractive. It draws people in. But the paradox is you only develop this by not seeking it, by doing the work for its own sake, by building when no one's watching, by caring about the craft more than the credit. And there's something else that happens. You start to understand that you are never truly alone. You're always witnessing yourself. And the relationship you have with that internal witness determines your entire life experience. If you respect that witness, if you honor them with effort, they don't have to reward. If you keep your promises to them even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one else would know, you develop something unshakable. Self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of everything, of confidence, of courage, of resilience, of worthiness. Everything builds on that foundation, and you can't fake it. You can't perform it. You can only earn it in private, in the dark, when no one's watching. So how do you actually build this? How do you develop private integrity? Let me give you 3 practices that will change your life if you actually do them. First, I want you to choose one hard thing every single day that no one will ever know about. This is critical. It can't be public. It can't be something you share. It can't be posted on social media. It has to be completely private, between you and you. Could be an extra set of push-ups when you're working out alone. Could be cleaning something no one will ever see. Could be working on your craft an extra hour past when you said you'd stop. Could be saying no to something you want when no one would know if you said yes. The task itself doesn't matter. What matters is the proof. You're proving to yourself that you don't need an audience. You're proving that you can do hard things for no reason other than you said you would. And I want you to keep a private log of these, not to show anyone, just for you, a running list of all the invisible wins. All the moments when you chose hard over easy when no one was watching. And over time, that list becomes evidence. Evidence that you're someone who can be trusted. Evidence that your word means something. Evidence that you have integrity. Second practice. Every Sunday evening, I want you to have a conversation with yourself, a real one. Sit down somewhere quiet and ask yourself one question. If the only person who knew my behavior this week was me, would I respect myself? And be brutally honest. Don't perform. Don't justify. Don't rationalize. Just answer truthfully. Where did you show up with integrity? Where did you compromise? Where did the public you and the private you diverge? Where did you perform one thing but do another? And then identify one specific area where you're going to align next week. One place where you're going to close that gap between who you say you are and who you are when no one's looking. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your work ethic. Maybe it's your relationships. Maybe it's how you spend your time alone. Pick one and commit to integrity in that area, not perfection. Integrity. Doing what you said you'd do. Being who you said you'd be, even when no one's watching. Third practice, and this one's going to sound extreme, but it's powerful. Whatever goal matters most to you, whatever dream you're chasing, whatever matters more than anything else, work on it at 4 in the morning once a week. And I know what you're thinking. Why 4 a.m.? Because no one's awake at 4 a.m. There's no one to see you, no one to validate you, no one to know if you did it or not. It's just you and the work. And that becomes your sacred proof. I care about this even when no one knows. I'm committed to this even when there's no audience. This matters to me independent of recognition. And you don't post about it. You don't tell people. You don't make it a thing. It's completely between you and yourself. And over time, this builds something unshakable. Because you have proof. Undeniable proof that you don't need external pressure to show up for what matters. You have internal commitment. And that changes everything about how you show up in the world. Here's what I need you to understand as we close this out. The person you are when no one's watching is the person you actually are, not the person you perform being, not the person you tell people you are, not the aspirational version you post about on social media. The real you, the one who makes choices in the dark, who decides what to do when there are no consequences for not doing it, when there's no reward for doing it. That person, that's your truth. That's your character. That's who you're building every single day. And if you don't respect that person, nothing external will ever fill the void. I don't care how much success you achieve. I don't care how much recognition you get. I don't care how much money you make or how many people follow you or how impressive your life looks from the outside. If you're not honoring yourself in private, if you're cutting corners when no one's looking, if you're breaking promises to yourself when there's no accountability, you will never feel whole. You will never feel at peace because you always know. You can never not know. The shortcuts you take, the corners you cut, the promises you break to yourself, you see all of it. And that seeing either builds you or breaks you. The hard things you do when no one's watching aren't about achievement. They're not about getting ahead. They're not about impressing anyone. They're about becoming someone you can trust, someone you respect, someone worthy of your own admiration. Because at the end of the day, you have to live with yourself. You have to face yourself. You have to look yourself in the mirror. And the question is, do you like what you see? Do you respect who's looking back at you? Are you proud of the choices that person made when no one was watching? Your new truth. Say it with me right now. I am the same person alone as I am in public. I honor myself in the dark. I keep promises no one sees. I do hard things when there's no reward but my own respect. That's not discipline, that's integrity. And integrity is power. Say it again. I am the same person alone as I am in public. I honor myself in the dark. I keep promises no one sees. I do hard things when there's no reward but my own respect. That's not discipline, that's integrity. And integrity is power. If this landed for you, if something shifted, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, what's one hard thing you're committing to doing this week when no one's watching? Make it real by naming it. Make it public by declaring it, not to perform, but to commit. And if you want more content that builds you from the inside out instead of just making you feel good for 5 minutes, hit that subscribe button because you deserve content that actually transforms you, not just entertains you. The world sees your performance. Your social media sees your highlights. Your friends see what you show them. But you see everything. And you're building your character in private, in the dark, in the moments no one witnesses. And that invisible work, that's where your real life is being built. That's where your real power comes from. That's where you become someone who doesn't need an audience to be extraordinary. So choose wisely. Choose integrity. Choose to be someone you respect when no one's watching. Because that person, that's who you'll have to be with forever. Make sure there's someone you actually want to know.